Hello, everyone. Welcome to IBEX Unwrap Week 7. We got a special show today. We're going to cover fantasy, the standings, the tail of the tape, a whole bunch of stuff. And as always, I got Tom Genrick here with me. And we also have a special.
Whoa.
Yeah. How's it going, Tom? We also have a special.
Good. How you doing?
Good. We got a special guest in Keith Bistodeau. Did I say that, Keith? Right.
Yes, you did. That is
Awesome.
correct.
Awesome. And Keith, yeah, we'll start there. We're gonna get to our other guests in a minute here, but Keith, can you kind of tell us a little background on like who you play for in the summer and who you're playing with in the IBEX League, and yeah, just a little background for people to get to know you.
Yeah, so right now in the summer, I play with the Ducks in the 18 plus league for TCM ABL. I started playing with them last year. Kind of got quasi recruited because of IBEX. So I started doing IBEX last year with a couple guys that I played with up and now then in the Minnesota Baseball Association League. Played there, literally leveraged my stats in
That's
IBEX
awesome. I like to hear
as a means to like promote myself to ASA and be like, hey, I'm looking for another team to play for. Do you need guys? Like, here's how I hit. Basically, that was the end of the conversation. It's like, yeah, you can hit, we'll find a spot. So I play for them.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, this was literally like the entry point. It was like, here's my link to my player card, right?
It's like your college recruiting video. Instead, it's a player
Basically
card off the IBEX website.
Yep. So I play for them. Still going to be playing for them this summer. And then I'm actually going back and playing for the original team that I started playing Minnesota Town Ball with, over in Albertville. They're no longer the Villains. They're going to be the Albertville Anglers this year.
Oh, okay. Did I see a jersey on Twitter or something for Angler?
Yeah, they just released a jersey. They're doing like the Seattle Kraken like color scheme.
Yeah, that looks cool.
For it.
Yeah.
But they're up in the Sauk Valley League, so that's going to be fun. So I'm going to get to drive down to the cities.
Yep.
For the Ducks, and then I drive like up. That league's kind of like up towards St. Cloud, so it's like both the Sartell teams, St. Joe's, like a lot of really quality baseball, like both ways for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it'll be a fun summer.
That'd be great. Very cool. Thanks for joining us today. And
Mhm.
just a fun fact about Keith, and I like to go to Tom as like the keeper of the lore or the stats, but I think there's only 3 or 4 guys that have hit 100 miles an hour, and Keith is one of them. How many is it, Tom? Is it 4?
I think it's 3. It's Emery, Scott Butner, and Keith. I don't think Hogan Jackson got up to over 100, but that was
A non-official game.
non-sanctioned IBEX event. Yes, but
Yeah,
that's the other guy we've seen.
yeah, very cool. Yeah, and yeah, Keith's
Yeah, they've both done it twice. So
and you did it once? Is it once, or you kind of more?
I did it one time, but I also like I went again. Like I'm kind of like Casey, and I deep dive on everything that's in here in IBEX. It's like mine was 103 mile an hour like line shot to third. I think Emery and Scott's are both like just deep moon shots, basically, or like deep drives to the gap. It's like you guys have talked about this in previous weeks, right? It's like my game is not to elevate the ball. I've never been like a stereotypical cleanup hitter. I'm like middle of the lineup, hit the ball hard and see what happens, right?
It's 100 mile an hour line shots. There's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. No, yeah.
Well, there are 2 of them.
Yeah, there's 2. You have 100.2 ones as well. So that's pretty cool. Both resulting in doubles. But the launch angle, I mean, man,
no, there's no launch.
That's pretty cool. No, but yeah, thanks for joining us. And yeah, we're gonna have you chime in throughout the show. Hopefully that'll be really cool. And then yeah, next we're gonna go into our fantasy segment. Everybody loves IBEX fantasy. Hopefully people are enjoying it anyway. And we have a correspondent that we want to bring in, a specialist. What's the guy's name? Eric Carabell from ESPN. He's going to be our own version of that, and it's Casey. He's also a winner. He won 2 weeks ago. And yeah, Casey, what you want to kind of give your thoughts on how fantasy's going and kind of your experience so far?
Yeah, thank you, Randy. As Randy mentioned, Casey Johnson here, the inaugural winner of the Dick's Sporting gift card.
Huge prize.
You know, I mean, you may be asking yourself, why is Casey back on? He didn't win this week. Tom Corcoran did. But like Vince Lombardi, I guess, of the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl, or Richard Hatch of Survivor, special things follow with the inaugural winner. And with that, I got this job of being the fantasy IBEX and analyst. It doesn't pay well, but it doesn't cost anything, and I guess neither does an entry into the contest itself. So anybody listening, I'd say join this thing. We've got 140 players in the league, or whatever it is, and I know at least half of them are too old to know how to operate a computer. We saw that. If you look at if you go back and look at
one of them.
Twitch,
No, actually, he's a developer. He made the website. Never mind.
yeah. You go back and look at Twitch on Sunday, it's funny watching the St. Michael's 50+ guys try to figure out how to back out of a play. But maybe I'll post a link to that at some point.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about is some of the players that we've seen so far this season, and maybe a little forecast into the future.
Yeah.
I've got my whiteboard up here. I don't know if you can see it. I can't see what you see, but Casey's fantasy IBEX analysis.
Oh, this is beautiful.
I got one other thing, before we get into this, that I was supposed to click.
I tell you what, Casey, I'm going to go back to the other shot here. Maybe we can see your whiteboard a little bigger there. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so with all of that said,
let's get down to business.
All right, so I've even got a sound bite.
It's got a music intro. I like this.
All right, so everybody who's paid any attention to the winners so far this year, or the big scorers, know about Phil Allen here.
He's a monster.
Phil Allen's a monster, and I know I got some glare here on my whiteboard, which I'll work on in ensuing weeks as I clean up my process. But he had 155.77 points this past week. He started out with a 6x multiplier, so whatever his average per at bat score was, ended up, if he got 6 points times 6, it would be like a 36-point week. With some of the I don't know if you could see that, but with some of his success, he moved to a 5.5 and then down to a 4. Now 4 is where he's at right now. But I looked at his last 5 games, and over his last 5 games, he's averaging just over 22 points a game. So with that kind of puts him in, he should be settling in around a ×3. So right now he's still got good value at ×4. So I know that this will come out after we've all selected our picks, and Keith's on the line right now, as are you guys. So you guys, if you haven't already used Phil, know that there's good value in him still this week. So Phil, we want Phil on the team. The other guy to check out who's just been doing phenomenal this year is Valentino Faulkner. His buddies call him Tino. Picked that up from the Twitch streams. Tino was ×2 going into last week, and he scored 63 points per at bat, 63.3 regular points per at bat. So with the multiplier, he was up to 126.6. Again, that is fire. So
I'm getting vibes. What's that guy's name? Kramer, that guy that does the stocks.
No, I'm getting
vibes of this. I'm liking it.
I've got the soundbite going. Sorry, let's get down to business soundbite. This is very Kramer like. Here's the thing about Valentino. Now he's moved to a ×1.5 multiplier, and his average points per game is 36.8. Now, our guest today, Keith, is also a 1.5 times multiplier, but his average per game is 42.6. So where's the value there? I would take the 42.6 guy if I'm getting that 1.5 times multiplier.
Right.
Now, it's not just analytics here. I mean, you can use your baseball eye and see that Tino is probably in his groove now. And I could see the guy averaging 50 to 60 points a game going forward in real, just without the multiplier. So at 1.5 multiplier, I mean, I think he's still somebody that I would put on my roster. I got one more note here about him. 1.5, his multiplier at 1.5 with his average of 36.8 would be 55.2, which is pretty low. But again, like last week when he scored 63, that 1.5 multiplier puts him at 94.5. And if you can get a guy a team who's averaging maybe 90 points per player, I think you're probably going to see that that's going to come out to a victory. So Valentino definitely deserves a spot in there. Two more guys that I'll mention quickly. They're actually both ducks. So, Keith may be able to talk more about this. But Jake Arneson with a 108.
Those are the two guys I knew you were going to talk about.
And Tanner Anderson with a 102.74. I mean, if you had, Phil's kind of the gimme. He's the middle of the bingo square. You take him right now until he gets down to that point, that 3 times multiplier. You're adding Phil.
His FanDuel usage should be like 1,000% or 100%, right? FanDuel usage.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a 4-player game after that. And if you had either, if you had Valentino and obviously Jake or Tanner in this case, I mean, you're just crushing it. You're looking at a 500-point week, which we haven't had yet. I think Cork was probably in the 480s or something like that, which is I think a new record as well. So each week we just continue to set a new higher bar, and we'll see if that happens again this week. So that's this week's analysis. We can break it down a little bit more informally.
Yeah,
that's what I
really quick. So just to kind of go with what Casey's saying, Casey's picks to click there or whatever. Phil, of course, this is the lineup that was, if you picked the ultimate lineup, this would have been it. And I think Trevor Stolhansky was the player of the week, I believe. Tom, is that correct?
That's right. Yep.
From the American
55.
The American division. And then obviously Phil, I mean, it's just the standby, and Valentino, like you mentioned. So yeah, 2 of those guys you mentioned right there in that ultimate lineup this week. So yeah, pretty cool breakdown there, Casey. I got to rethink my lineup a little bit. I go off a little bit of feel. Maybe I need to put a little more analysis in this, but yeah, that's really cool. Keith, how about you? Got any thoughts on the fantasy stuff? Have you done the deep dive like Casey? Are you still going off feel or names? What's your strategy?
A little bit of both. I mean, I started the first week kind of going with the standard. Okay, here's who I know is consistent. Yep. Just based off of names I knew and kind of how I knew guys just naturally hit.
Yep.
But that multiplier those first couple of weeks shifted a lot on a lot of different guys. So like when we're talking about, like Tanner and Jake with the Ducks, those two, I think I would lean a little bit heavier on Jake for value.
Okay.
Over Tanner, just based off of how I've watched the consistency on production on it. Cause I'm also the guy that sits there and watches the Twitch stream on Sunday and kind of watches how guys approach thing. And
he's got a high floor is kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. So the interesting part with Jake is, if you've ever seen video of Ty Cobb towards the end of his career on how he had to swing, there was no legs. It was all arms because he beat the crap out of his lower body so much. That's how Jake swings.
Oh, okay.
There's no lower body movement, but he's just built like a brick house from the waist up.
Okay.
And he slowly started to figure out how to kind of engage the lower body a bit more, which is where you're starting to see that trend of him going up, which is why his multiplier also has slowly
gone down,
kind of dropped at the same time. But I mean, for the last couple of weeks for us, he's probably been one of our more consistent performers just because he barrels up the ball consistently now versus at the start, since it was his first year doing it.
Yep.
It's hard to make that adjustment, right? It's like we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is I literally started at the bottom and I go, okay, who's got a 6 times multiplier? And let's start doing the math.
Yeah.
And here's your average, take the number. And then I'd literally just write a list of who gets to 75.
Yep.
So if you're getting close to the 75 point mark, that's kind of where I'm considering. And then I use those lovely graphs that show up between players on there. And there's some guys that have the 200 mark on their graphs. And it's okay, those are the guys to target, right? Because the ceiling on them is substantially higher than, some of the guys that have the 1 or the 1.5 multiplier, where we're kind of stuck hovering around that 60 to 120 mark, unless you just have a breakout week.
Yeah, no, that's right. Oh, that's it. Yeah, you guys are taking this to a whole nother level. Tom, are you putting this?
Yeah, Keith, that's interesting it's interesting you noticed that about people like you. And I think Casey and Tom Corkin and I talked about that. You can't average 200 points a swing, right? You really do have a ceiling with a 1.5 or a 1 multiplier that some of these guys with the higher multipliers don't have. So, it's something that we talked about at the cage, and we may look at next year, so that there's a way for guys like you, to have big weeks that could catapult you to the top of the fantasy producers, because there's no way that you can, if you've got a one-time multiplier like Cork has, he's not going to average 160 points, hit tracks points a swing. And yet, the guys who, like Phil this week, was at 160. So the challenge is trying to figure out maybe how to even it out a little bit more for some of the better hitters, so that there's more value for you guys. I'm not sure how to do that.
We were bouncing an idea around last week of like a bonus for like actually getting hits, right? Because hit tracks rewards you for how you actually hit the ball, not whether or not per se what the result is, right? It's like I can hit just a rocket to short, that's a line out, that's actually worth more points than like a bloop single, right?
Right.
Yep.
But in real life, what do you want? You want the single, right? You want the actual result. So if there would be a way to like
That's
weight result on it, so like a single's worth a certain amount, obviously compound it for double, triple, home run, and then RBIs. I mean, there's probably a way to do it, but that's like advanced analytics, right? And figuring out how you actually tie that into the system.
No, that's a great idea. That's why we're bringing you in here, Keith. This is great.
Yeah, no, I think we could do I could run the math on that. That's interesting. I'm not sure that result doesn't matter though in the hit tracks point.
There's
Yeah,
like
somebody shared that.
Yeah, it's like, I want to say it's like 5.5 points for a single, all the way up to like maybe 12 points for a home run or something. So maybe that is an incremental or just doesn't make a big enough difference. The other thing that maybe I was just kind of, spitballing here with is maybe like any hit over 80, it gets a 0.25 multiplier or something like that. Just because then the guys who are doing that on occasion, Keith, Sam Knight, they hit a ball, 85 points, and all of a sudden then they can get like a whatever 0.25 addition is onto that, rewarded for like kind of going above and beyond their standard.
I think that's a really good idea, and we have this huge data set now. So, the trick is going to be the calibration of that, right? So that we don't want to overpower, they're kind of nerfed now. We don't want to overpower them to the point where everybody's picking them. So it's going to be tricky finding the right level for that kind of bonus. But I agree with you. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll just look at the numbers and see where they go.
I like that. That's a great idea. You can see I got our Twitter up. If you're not following us, make sure you follow us on Indoor Baseball Experience on Twitter. You can see Phil here, the legend that is, of fantasy, IBEX fantasy. The Skeeters, by the way, are heating up, and Phil was a part of that last week. I missed last week. I watched on Twitch, and I was sweating in my living room, making sure the Mammoth pulled out a victory. But yeah, we'll get to the standings here soon. But yeah, the Skeeters had a nice week last week. So, but yeah, you can also check it out. We do Tail the Tape videos on our Twitter. We also have like the top 5 players in Tom Corcoran's winning entry here. As you can see, Phil and Bjorn, and then the Faulkner brothers and Sam Knight was the 5 that he selected, and got himself a Dick's gift card. And then I really like the Dugout Splinters every week. It's kind of a fun collection of facts or things that happened. So check this out. But yeah, I encourage you, go to the Twitter page and check out all the different things we post each week. And then also go to indoorbaseballx.com, check out your player card. Like we have our player card here for Keith. And every player in the league's got their own player card with their own player comp. Keith's like Trey Turner. So that's his player comp right now. That's pretty sweet. And
I think that's been pretty consistent for me the entire time.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah, it keeps coming back to Turner, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
yeah, that's awesome. Mine went from like Acuna to like, I can't remember who. I'm Max Muncy now, and next I'll just keep sliding down. So, but but yeah, so he's third in MVP, and it's just really cool how you can get a snapshot of how he's doing or any other players in our league. So yeah, really cool fantasy chat there, guys. We'll have to do that again. We gotta name Casey's segment, and we gotta get that music going each week. So Casey,
Keith, how's your slide into home looking? Trey,
Good enough.
Trey Turner's the guy with the smooth slide
he
into
has
home,
that
isn't
slide where he pops up real nice. I should find that
he?
on.
Yeah,
I'm also like twice the size of Turner, so
yeah, I would say so.
Fun fact about
Um,
Keith, though, he's a catcher.
Different players.
He's a catcher too, and a pitcher. So, but yeah, we'll move on to the standings. And again, if you go to indoorbaseballx.com, go to the leagues page, and then go to standings. You can see the American League and National League tabs on top here. We'll kind of go a little faster through these this week, but American League standings, I keep waiting for the Crushers to maybe pass the Legends, but the Legends are holding them off. And I feel like Spare Parts might be dropping down a bit. But yeah, any comments about the American League? I know we're all the National League guys, so we don't know quite as much about the American League, but yeah, that's the latest look at it anyway. For the National League, we got the Mammoth and the Cardinals, Sea Donkeys, North Stars, Merchants, and so Ducks, Raptors, Grasshoppers, Grays, Angels, and Skeeters. And yeah, I think we were talking last week, and I think how many runs did you guys score, Tom, last week? You guys had quite the show.
I think we posted six each game. So I think we had 12.
Very cool. Yeah. What do you think what happened? What's going on?
Well, we only had 3 guys last week. And I mean, Keith can probably speak to this. I know Casey can. The fewer guys you have in the lineup, the easier it is to get on a roll. You know, if you've got 5 or 6, I think the Ducks usually do have, at least last year, they usually had
we
like
rock
5 guys.
6 people, and it's hard to get in a groove, and it also kills you when guys are having an off week.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed that like the teams that rock out like 3 or 4 guys, like the Grays are a perfect example of this, right? It's like they consistently have 3 or 4 guys, and when they're all on, that's when they go up the standings. But if they have an off week, which I think they did this week, since now we're above them and we've kind of flipped through here.
Yep.
It's like, I mean, it's a little bit more reflective of that, right? But like that's the problem with kind of overloading. It's like 5's kind of like the tipping point. If I look at it like roster wise.
No, I agree. It's nice to I've been on 2 sides of that where I've been hot in a group of 3 or 4, and I can't wait to get up again. But I've also been on the other side of that where I can't find a hit, and I'm like, I wish we had 6 guys here tonight, so I wasn't up so often. So it kind of works both ways. But yeah, and then one other thing I wanted to mention, in our league, you can place like as a team solo, or you can get matched up with another team. And I think the Ducks last year were matched up with another team every week, and maybe this year you're playing on your own. Do you find you like one more than the other, or is it just different?
I mean, I guess if you want to play the mental game of at least people are throwing 4 seams at you.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, sure. I mean, I remember that was like the first thing when I first started playing IBEX. I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to go down to the pitching machine, you're going to get as weird of a cut on this ball coming through that machine as possible, right? I mean, does it really make that big of a difference?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not really. I mean, it's the one thing that we do miss playing by ourselves, though, is like you don't get the interaction that you get that everybody else has every week, which is kind of like one of the really nice draws of the league, because unless you're playing every week, I mean, like you guys play Mammoths and Skeeters every Friday, you all play against each other, but like everybody else, they're rotating through, they're seeing new guys, they get to meet new people, and like that's one of like the really nice parts of the league is you get to basically do like a mini season.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. They both definitely have pros and cons to them. And I'm curious, I was just curious what a team, I've never done like the solo one before. And I think it probably goes fast too, right? You probably go through 9 innings really quickly. So yeah, really, really cool. Yeah, no, we actually, I was looking at some of the scores, and I think there's the Cardinals, I want to, or no, Sea Donkeys scored 8 runs and 10 runs. So they had a pretty good week as well. So, but yeah, we'll go next to the kind of our awards section, and we'll cover the MVP first. And we'll start in the American League. Scott Buechner's 1, John Novak is 2, and Lundgren is 3. Zap is 4. So you can kind of get a feel. These guys have all kind of been in the mix here the whole season. And yeah, again, we're National League guys. A lot of us, we don't know as much about these guys, but yeah, is anything jump out to any of you guys on this American League group? Tom, you got any thoughts on these, or Casey?
Just real quick, I mean, I'll let Tom speak on it, but top 4 guys are within 10 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's it. I don't think we'll see that when we flip over to the National League.
Yep.
But that's pretty fun. 2 of
It
them are
is
on the
fun.
same team. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's a function of the math behind it. And Keith maybe is one of the guys who's looked at the math behind it. It's got some pros and cons. I think one of the pros is that these races stay really tight. I think one of the cons is that, you know, maybe guys who are just demonstrably better don't necessarily open up the lead that they should be opening up based on their talent levels. So I like that it stays close. You know, I think all of these guys probably feel like they have a chance to win the MVP.
Yep.
So I think I like that, but I also recognize that with the formula we're using, there's some drawbacks in terms of how accurately this reflects true talent.
It's hard to pull away kind of from the pack a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
It's more clustered than the player of the season stuff, right? Like
Right.
that's like the one.
Yeah.
I mean, like even though you have like these 4 guys that are pulling away at the top, though, you have like another cluster below them, right? It's
No,
like so you can
exactly.
kind of see like tier 1, tier 2, and like that also. I mean, like if you go and look at, you know, the fantasy numbers for people, like here's where it's really easy for you to start looking at, okay, here's where the multipliers sit, right? It's like
Right.
this cluster is probably about here, this cluster's here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, we're doing the winner gets a bat, right? A battalion bat, right, Tom? For
Right,
both
yep.
American League and National League, and also player of the season. So it's worth winning. And yeah, it's right now Scott's leading the way. In the National League, Corcoran, kind of the opposite of what we're talking about for the American League. He's pulled away, and you know, as long as he keeps going and keeps hitting the way he is, keeps showing up each week, he's going to be tough to pass. Kleppen is in the 2nd spot, and Keith is in the 3rd. Casey's in the 4th. So you guys are chasing this Cork character. What it's going to be tough unless he stops coming, right?
I don't hit home runs, man. Like it's not going to happen. It's
so did Sam, and I think that's.
Mhm.
I mean, I think Klepp, Keith, and myself, as well as Tom, have been there. I think all 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's like a fair comparison, but yeah, Sam Knight should probably be 2nd there. I think if based on, again, it is what it is. It's the way the formula is set up, and it you know, recognizes you for showing up every week.
Yep.
There's some value in that.
For sure.
Short season, and you know, missing a guy for a week, and I don't know. I mean, maybe go look at the North Stars and see where their standings are, or where they might be with you know, Sam in there for another day. So
Right.
that would be, you know, your case for the value that a player brings. But
I mean,
no, yeah, it's,
I think if
yeah,
we
I
don't
always-
change this, if we don't change the formula, I think what we should do is maybe give every guy 1 freebie. You know, because some guys miss just because
Yeah,
life
like
interferes.
drop the worst or drop it
Yeah.
if they miss.
Exactly. I think that, but I think we also will probably take another look at the formula we're using and maybe tweak it. So
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I like that. As a guy that's missed a week. We'll go to the player of the season next in the American League. And yeah, Chris Bunchow is number 1. And I think Chris and Josh, I think, have been 1 and 2 the whole time, if I remember right, in the American League. So yeah, again, it's starting to kind of, these two are far and away, that first tier. So yeah.
But you have the Hitman Club coming.
Yeah, there is
4, 5, and 6.
Three hitmen right in a row there. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And then if we jump to the National League, Bjorn is, I mean, we can just give him the award now. I think he's pulling away. He's doubled up on it. Even Phil Allen, like, the fantasy god. So, and then Keith is actually third. So yeah, and then
I did it the other season. I played too.
I remember that, Keith. Like,
it's
last
the
year,
anomaly, right? Like we talk
Yeah.
about that every week. It's like, okay, let's see what happens. Like,
right.
Yeah, you were climbing both leaderboards last year at the end of the year. I remember that. I mean, you were rocketing up both of them at the end of the season. It was interesting.
And then
So, Randy, if I can just make one point, and I'm
Yep.
jumping back a little bit, but this
Yep.
is kind of the cool thing about the IBEX website is, even though we have these things like the awards and stuff, you can also go, okay, well, so we know that Sam missed a day or a week or whatever it was. Ultimately it comes down to this could be an argument too, but I was about to say ultimately it comes down to average points per at bat. And so
Right.
you've got core, you can go and look at that on the website because you can kind of tweak all this stuff any way you want, which is fun for guys like myself and maybe Keith. But Cork's got 66 points per at bat as his average. Sam Knight's at 58. You can look at it, it combines both leagues, or you can break it out, and Buttes is in there at 55, and Jack Nelson, who's only there for a week, is at 51. Valentino's at 50. So then you kind of see how far down the list you got to go to find me. And it's not number 3 or whatever I was there for the MVP, or 4 or whatever it was. So there's always this other cool stuff to kind of look at and go, well, how am I doing in the league? If you care, I mean, people I think care about all sorts of different things, but just saying that it's out there, even though Tom's got this formula that does it, that has the MVP, if you have your own, feeling of, well, how come I'm not in there? The information's out there to go look at it, and it's a lot of fun to look at. So just wanted to make mention of that.
No, that's a good, I mean, there's different people use this information different ways, and Tom's interpretation of what MVP, it's one way, and you're right, Casey, there's other ways to look at this data and decide if you're performing well or getting better or getting worse, or so it is really interesting. I mean, literally every swing that we take is recorded, and like, if Cork wants to go and see how he's doing on a given day or this month or whatever, he can go and do that analysis, which is really cool. Tom, was there any records this week? I don't think I dug into that enough.
Yeah, Cork had 5 triples in a game. I think that was the one record that was set this week.
Wow. Okay. And again, if you go to the records tab, a records page, I should say, and you sort by the game tab, you can see hits and doubles and triples. So Corcoran here had five triples. I know there's been a lot of discussion on what home field we should use, Casey. Was this part of the 5? You remember where the 5 triples were?
I think it was a San Francisco game. So if you're a lefty in San Francisco, it's about 402 to the right center gap.
Yep.
So if you hit it, I mean, it's going to keep rolling to 402, and it's, I think Phil had a triple there from the Skeeters. I think Rob might have had a triple. I'm not sure if, it's potentially, Stark's more of a spray hitter, so he might not have pulled one in there. If you were there, you probably would have had 3 or 4 triples. So yeah, I mean, San Francisco certainly is advantageous for that. I'm still trying to find out the equivalent for the right-handers. I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of cool parks for lefties, and Cork would probably nail me to the cross for even suggesting that the lefties have it easier, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they maybe have it more fun. They've I remember a couple weeks ago we were maybe playing, I don't know if this is even a league game, but you had 3 or 4 triples in a game at Fenway. Yep. Just because you were like rattling it around those crazy dimensions over there. So it's fun. I mean, all I'll say about Fenway is I've got like 3 or 4 of my longest hits there, and
Right.
they're all singles off the wall.
Off the
So
wall.
yeah, so it's goofy, but yeah, it was San Francisco. If you're a lefty and you want to challenge Cork and his 5 triples or whatever, go to San Francisco and see what you can do.
Yeah. I just thought of this now, Keith. You probably get to play in the same park twice if you want, because you play. You're the home team both times. You're the only team.
Yeah, it's a constant argument for us. It's like everybody's like, well, let's play at New York because it's the shortest fence. And my response every week is, we don't hit home runs. Like, let's play where there's deep. I like ballparks that have deep gaps because, like, that's my game. Is let's try to hit it to the gap and get it to roll.
Yep.
I mean, like, it just makes more sense when you have. I mean, really, our roster is kind of like our leadoff guys and then the middle of our lineup. So,
right.
Like a park like that plays kind of more to our strengths, but it's like we got some guys that really like to swing out of their shoes to try to hit home runs. So it's like, okay, sure, fine.
Yeah.
It works. But it's like the ballpark's not changing my game. I hit it like 120 feet consistently. Yeah. So
it is.
So
fun,
Keith,
though.
I mean, the one thing about hit tracks is for a lot of us, I mean, it opened my eyes to just what my game is, I think, or if nothing else, it just like established what I thought before. So we know that you can hit the ball hard, and we know that you hit the ball at like a 4-degree launch angle. So have you tweaked or messed around to see what it would take to put a 25-degree launch angle on there, and what kind of
and it looks ugly. I mean, it's weird. So like, I used to swing like that. I used to be kind of like all out, kind of like Cork or like Kane for the Ducks. Like if you've ever watched Kane swing a bat, it literally looks like he's trying to just destroy the baseball every time.
Right.
I used to swing like that, but I've also had 4 knee surgeries in the last 7 years on my right knee. And it's like, that's just not conducive to kind of longevity at this point. So, I mean, I've just kind of accepted the fact it's like, I might not be the guy that hits the towering moonshots. I have the power to do it.
Right.
But like, I mean, if I have the ability to hit a ball like so hard that you can't move to catch it,
right,
that's fine.
Oh yeah, and the thing about it too, is in the summer, none of us are hitting 20 homers except for maybe Cork, but the rest of us are just mortals that are hitting base hits. And like you mentioned earlier, you're just trying to hit the ball in the gap and have it, get to the wall and get extra base hits and that kind of thing. Like what you're doing is good for summer baseball, and it's good for this too, but it's also really, really good for summer baseball. We're not hitting 20 home runs, so you might as well hit line shots like that. So yeah, no, that's really cool. That's a good question though. Because everybody says, well, shit, you should just hit a fly ball and 100 miles an hour, it'll go like 500 feet. But it's not that easy, right? It's
like, I also look at it too. It's like when the pitch comes from the machine, it's like, I can tell you where my home run zone is. If you throw me low and in,
right,
I'm going to hit that ball a country mile.
Right.
But hit tracks, we're mostly lefties. I get a bunch of pitches that are like high and outside.
Yeah.
It's like, those are not pitches I'm going to try to turn on. So I'm just going to try to slap it to right field, to right center, which is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And just go with it.
No, that's right. Yeah. Next we'll go to tail of the tape. There was only 4 home runs this week. I think we had 3 2 weeks ago. Last week was like 15 or something crazy. And this week's 4. Kind of interesting. I don't know what to read into that or not, but the first one was Valentino. And let me try to get these pulled up here. Can you see it? It's popping up here. You guys see the home swing here?
Yep, now it's up.
Valentino lefty. We'll see if we can play it again here.
I got my stocking cap on tonight. I was going to mention that in my breakdown. I got my stocking cap on tonight just to a shout out to Tino.
Yeah,
I don't have the ball on the top though, so I think that's part of. I got to get that in there. Maybe
look at that lineup. Are they hitting 8 guys?
They are.
Yeah.
Look at Tino is 3 for 3 with a couple of ribs, and when he hits this thing, he just walks off. He doesn't need to walk. It's just like turn and go in. He did his job.
Tom, what do you think of that swing?
I noticed that last year when we were on mic. He's got a really pretty swing. I mean, he's got one of these. He releases with that top hand and he's got a long follow through. It's just a really pretty looking swing. Some guys, I mean, I'll use me as an example. We just dropped the hands and it's very short. He's got a much longer, more flowing, fluid swing. So he was always the guy I liked watching when I was doing that
He
stuff.
changed his timing mechanism this year too.
Yeah,
If you watch his front foot, he used to do like a double tap and come forward. Now he pivots on it.
yeah, he does. It's almost like a little bit of a modern day like toe tap a little bit that a lot of the younger players are doing. But yeah, he doesn't like load up a ton like with a big leg kick or anything. But it is he takes that step early, and then you're right, he pivots and creates a ton of power, opens the hips.
His bat is in the zone a long time too.
Yeah.
You know, he gets that bat trailing behind him the way you're supposed to create not the leg, but the getting in the zone for a long time.
Yeah,
He's on plane for a long time, I think.
and his hips are closed, and then it just kind of explodes and pulls, opens up, and yeah, it's a great swing. How old's Tino? What do you guys think? I have no idea.
Late 20s, my
They're
guess.
both
I was
in their
going to say it's like 26, 28, somewhere in there.
yeah, early to mid 20s, I think, for both those guys.
All right. And then next we got Sam Knight. He had a home run this last week. Let's see here. Sam's kind of got, I mean, that's a nice swing too. You can see how focused he is watching that ball in. And he stays kind of, I don't know, he almost seems like he's short to the ball, but finishes long with his bat. And it's a pretty swing. The guy's strong.
It's a full commit swing. I mean, like both of his feet, it almost looks like they almost come off the ground when he swings.
Yeah, you're right. He does kind of like explode up a little bit. But yeah, it feels like he doesn't start long and end long. He's kind of short, boom, and then he finishes long. But yeah, it was a great swing. What does that make him, 4 for 6 there? So he's having a day. And again, like he's playing in a lineup with 6 guys, and some of these home run records and doubles and triples in a game, it's tough to do if you're in a lineup of 6. And I'd be curious if Sam Knight played on a lineup of 3, what he could amass in a game. So
well, like how many at bats like does Cork have compared to guys that rock out like a 5 or a 6 man roster every week? I mean, he probably has twice as many at bats, right? Like you guys all do.
Yeah, Casey and I are lucky to be in that lineup too. So we get like 18 to 20. I mean, we'll get in the upper teens, right, Casey, most of the time.
Yeah, I mean,
last week it would have been 10 in my second game and 12 in the first. We had 4 guys, so that's not too abnormal. I mean, some of these lineups here are I was in 8 guys like we saw with Robbinsdale there, the Raptors or whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, overall we're 4 every week, so I think the total value of it, I mean, it helps that we can get hot too. I mean,
right.
we're all decent hitters. I mean, I think the game that we had 12 hits, Grill was just getting used to what it was like to hit in the cage. It was his first time, and so he didn't have a hit. I mean, he had a good second game, but so we didn't really have a chance to run with it. But I mean, if you get Stark in there and Randy and myself and Tom, there's been times where we've gotten up into the upper teens, 17 at bats or something like that. So
it's fun when you get rolling and you kind of don't want to let down the rest of them, and everybody's just getting hit after hit, and you kind of just pop it in and doing your thing. So,
and it's not even so much letting down the rest of them, but all of a sudden there will be 2 outs and we'll go on a 13 hit streak or something like that because nobody wants to go pitch.
Right. Yeah, that's the biggest reason to not make an out, is that you don't want to pitch. Yeah, Cork actually crushed this one pretty much to center field. And do you guys think, in case you play with Cork quite a bit now in the summer, do you think is this the swing you'll see in July?
No, he's crouched down. He's bending both of his legs. He's a little more upright in the league. I mean, he's got the more of a Bonds type of Ted Williams is who so many of us have likened his swing to. And
yeah,
I wish people would say something like that about me, or that I could. But yeah, so right now he's kind of just crouched down, like bringing something about it. I think he thinks it helps him elevate.
Yeah.
Is that right, Tom? Did he say that? Is that how he said it?
Yeah. He talked about getting lower and then trying to get under the ball a little bit. That was after a week where he maybe only hit like 3 home runs, but yeah, I think you're right. I think his standard like outside baseball stance is a little bit more upright than what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, he's on a roll, and I think he's got the most home runs on the season now by quite a bit as well.
All right, let's move on because I was 0 for 5 on this one. So
the
before anybody
last
notices.
one we got here is sprints. And I think, did he have one last week too? Can't remember, but yeah, he's kind of got a short to the ball.
Things just turned on.
Yeah, short to the ball and then finishes a little longer, and 2 hands on the bat the whole time. But yeah, this target field too. I think that's target field, right? Yeah.
Yep.
That's a legit shot. And
The other thing I like about this segment is just kind of watching the swings like we've been doing. And, so many times. So last year I was on the Skeeters and we had Elliot, Engen, and Cork, and they're both lefties, and they both attack the ball with probably an upward trajectory. And I just don't have anybody to look at and go, well, how is he doing it?
right.
Unless I'm going to do it their way, which is, lefty and with this uppercut. So that's one of the things I noticed about sprints here is like, maybe that's a guy who my swing could, I could learn something from maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
It's fun to see the other swings.
It's so interesting how there's like different way. There's same result. There's 4 home runs there, but they're all like a different swing, and it's that part is fun for me to see. Again, you can see the tail of the tape on your own if you want to take a look. You can find those videos on Twitter and a lot of other good stuff. So really appreciate you joining, Keith, and kind of bringing a new perspective to things. And it sounds like you're enjoying IBEX and the website and the Twitch. I'm sorry, the Twitch stream and everything. So that's really cool. I really appreciate that you're getting into all this.
It's like I'll be watching the stream tonight once we get the kids to sleep. So it's like
Nice.
this is kind of like my transition into like even like teaching like our oldest about baseball a little bit. So like this is what they do on Sundays when I drive down. It's like they pull up the stream and watch, and like that's like something that a couple of the teams like in TCMA BL do. Like they set up live streams and watch it. It's like it's a different dynamic, but I'm like, well, my kids did it over the summer. It's like you can watch it here now.
Yep.
So I mean, and there's no baseball right now, so why wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. I like that.
Keith, real quick, what do you think? So, I mean, we're always trying to do things to promote IBEX and to promote amateur baseball in general. I mean, you're kind of one of the followers that we've seen on Twitter, communicating or interacting, engaging with us. Why is that, or what can we do to potentially, expand our reach and keep people entertained? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong?
I mean, I think the big thing is, continuing to get guys from different leagues in it, right? So like, I'm kind of one of those unique people in the league where like, I'm not from the metro area, right? I mean, besides like the guys that are from the St. Michael teams, most everybody's kind of more down, metro area. But I mean, like, this is the same conversation I had with Jackson with Italian Bats. He's like, well, how do I get this out to more people? It's literally reaching out to them and having a conversation if you can. So like, I've already like started that conversation for next year with some of the like leagues more north, more towards St. Cloud, where it's like, this is an opportunity. It's a little bit of a drive, but what else are you doing in January and February? If you're not playing college ball somewhere, it's a great opportunity to get together, to kind of start to gel as a team, actually get some stuff in. It's not just hitting, right? You can come in and pitch. There's other things that you guys are talking about doing as well. So, just kind of marketing it that way, right? It's like, if this is really like what you do and what you like doing, finding ways to make it that you can do it year round, when it's 0 degrees outside, it's not like you're going to go out and hit off a tee, right? Like that's not an enjoyable experience, but
right. Yeah.
And just kind of leveraging it that way.
No, yeah, we definitely will. And we're hoping to expand into other locations too and stuff. So who knows, maybe we'll bring IBEX to the North Metro or further up and just try to keep this thing growing, because it's a lot of fun, and it's fun because of people like Casey and people like Keith and and the people that kind of engage with the information and the community around it. So we appreciate you guys, and yeah, thanks a lot. And then Casey, thanks for your fantasy insight. I think it's a thing now, so I'm expecting another whiteboard breakdown next week. So
yeah, work on my sound bites and get a couple of like, rattlers or something.
Yeah,
He's gonna need a bigger whiteboard.
yeah.
Honker hunt.
I want it like
noticed that.
Moneyball. I want the full
Yeah,
wall
we'll get
in the
it right
back
up
with
there.
like everybody's names, be like, just take the sticker and throw it off.
Yeah.
Like, here's this week.
Just
I need,
don't
to, I
go
need to
Glenn,
replace Phil when his modifier goes away. It's like, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't go all Glenn Beck on us though, Casey. Don't let that whiteboard turn you. Okay, just
Okay.
you did a really good job tonight. Let's just leave it at that.
Tom, any last thoughts before we stop the show?
No, other than I want to thank both these guys too. It's so much better when we have guests. I think you and I enjoy it more, and I think it's probably much more interesting to listen to. So this was really great. And Keith, anytime you want to come on, feel free. We'll probably hit you up at some point again and get you back on here, because it was really fun having you.
Yeah,
Like, sounds good, guys. Any opportunity I get to talk baseball, I'll do it. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, good. I appreciate everybody for joining, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks.